Hey there, in this video we're just going to go through what you are going to need to do for your test corrections. And this is going to be basically the same process we follow all year. So I just want to make sure you're clear what the expectations are for you and also the reasons behind what we do for our test corrections. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to review the feedback that's been provided for you on your rubric. And so where you're going to get that is just kind of like when I give you feedback on your assignments. You're going to go and right underneath where the rubric has been shared with you on Google Classroom, there's an edited doc. And then on that, I've gone through and highlighted some things on the first page. And also there's a second page if there was any learning objectives I feel like you need to work on a little bit more. And there you will find your overall grade for this assessment. So that's the first thing you're going to do is just go and take a look at that and see any comments that I've left you. Okay. Once you have done that, then you are going to go in and fill in the practice test reflection. And this is just to let me know kind of how things are going and how you're feeling about like your overall understanding of this topic. And you can kind of comment when you're going through and filling this in. It's only a few questions, but just complete this and let me know, like, do you feel like you're understanding the material or are there things you need to work on? Because I want to make sure that if there's some stuff, some gaps, that you need help with, that we can address those before the summative. So you'll fill that in. And then I am going to give you a reflection grade for this, for your learning behaviors. And what I'll be looking for, this is kind of the scale that I'm going to be using, but it's just how thoughtful your responses are, especially like about your plan for getting ready for the summative. I mean, if you just say, I'm going to study, well, I mean, that's great, but I'd like to know, like, how much do you plan on studying? What resources are you going to use? That type of thing. And also about your learning up to this point. You know, if you just say like, I get it, or I don't get it, or things like that, I'd like a little bit more detail so that I can help you out as much as possible over the next few days. And the third thing, and this is optional, okay? This is a teacher feedback form. This is something new I'm doing this year because I really want to get your feedback throughout the year about how things are going. This is optional. You do not have to fill this in. I will tell you this survey, it's only 2 questions. It's just you letting me know things that have worked well for you in this first unit and maybe things that haven't worked so well for you. This is an anonymous survey. It doesn't collect your email or anything like that. The first survey that you did for the practice test does, because I want to know, how you are understanding this. But when you're giving me feedback, I want to make sure that, if there's something that I'm doing that you don't like, that is not helping your learning, that you can speak freely about that. If you want to add your name, the third question allows you to do that. Like if it's something that you want me to come back and talk to you about, or if you just want me to know it's you that's leaving the comment, you can put your name there. But if you just want to keep it totally anonymous, that's fine. You can just leave that last question blank and let me know. So once again, this is optional, but I really do appreciate the feedback. It helps me to be a better teacher and helps me to make sure I'm doing as good as I can with the class. So that's kind of the start of this process. Once you're done with those surveys, you're going to let me know. And I will give you your practice test back at that point. Eventually, you're going to be scanning this and submitting it here, just so we have keep a record of your assessments and we don't have to worry about losing them. You might want to do that right when you get it back. If you've got your phone here, you can go ahead and get that out and scan and just submit it here. That would be great. Or you can do that at home. It's up to you. Once you've got that practice test back, you are going to be getting this test corrections and reflection sheet. This is where you're going to be fixing your errors. And so I just want to make sure you're clear on what the expectations are for this, because this is a really important part of the learning process. The whole reason we do a practice test is so we can identify those places that you still don't quite understand, and that you can go through and make sure that you can clear up any of those misunderstandings. So this is the tool that we're going to use to do that. So here's an example. This is a question a lot of people I gave feedback on, that a lot of people made a mistake about the scale of the number line. And this is enough people made this mistake. It was clear to me that I probably didn't do a real good enough job teaching it. So, but for example, like this one right here, this person got the correct answer mathematically to the question -45 plus 200. But if you look at their number line, okay, if you look at the distance, oh, sorry, I almost forgot. How you know if you need to do a correction is I've highlighted a C next to the problem. So if you, all those little blue highlighted C's, that means you need to do a correction for that problem. Usually it'll be a yellow highlighted C, but we already have yellow highlighter on this test because of the negative signs. So for this assessment, look for the highlighted blue C's. So what's wrong with this problem? Well, if you look at the distance on this number line from 0 to negative 20. Well, the distance there is pretty much the same distance as it is from 0 to 50 on the positive side. Those two distances, we wouldn't say that's drawn to scale because those two distances should not be equivalent to one another. So what this person would do is they would go through and fix their number line. So on the separate test correction sheet, this is where you're going to be doing your corrections. You can write on the practice test if you want, but this is what I'm going to be taking a look at. What you'll do is, first of all, tell me what number it is that you are going to be correcting. Then I ask for an error type. Okay? Up at the top of this sheet, it gives you 5 different types of errors that you can choose from. An understanding error, careless error, reading error, communication error, and a time error. And I don't want you to have to stress about like choosing the right one. All I'll say is the one that you want to be careful of using too much is that carelessness. Okay, a lot of times people just want to say, "Oh, it was a careless mistake," but that's easy to say. But what we really want to do is get at the root of the misunderstanding. So sometimes we do have a careless mistake. Oh, I forgot to put the negative sign on there, even though I knew that it was a negative or whatever. But be really careful with saying things are careless, that you don't use that as just as a kind of an easy way to say why you got something wrong. We really want to dive into the why. I would say on this problem, and I don't know for sure without looking at it, without being in this person's head, I would say this is probably a communication problem. They've got the right answer for math, so it's clear they understand the concepts there. So I would say I would probably classify this as a communication error. Now, this person could have also said, you know what, I didn't know how to scale correctly. I didn't understand that concept. So maybe they make it a number 1 error. It's an understanding error. It's really like what you think, what's going on in your own head. But because I don't know for sure, I'm just going to say the error type was a number 4. Once you've done that, then you're going to go and fix the mistake. So in this case, I would redraw the number line, and it would look something like this. Now you notice I used up 2 of those boxes. There's a reason I put a dashed line going down the middle. Sometimes there's not enough room either to do your mathematical working or to write your explanation. And if that's the case, you can go ahead and use like side-by-side boxes. That's why the dashed line is there. If you can fit all your work in one box, go ahead and do that. Okay? But I used 2 boxes on this to make sure it was clear so I could draw a nice big number line. I redid my scale, so all of those distances were about the same. And then the last part is an explanation of your mistake. So this is where you want to really be careful about what I'll really be looking at in terms of the level that you're engaging with the problem and thinking about your mistake. If you were to just take this, and these are some examples of some pretty limited thinking. If you just said, my scale was wrong, that's a true statement, but it doesn't tell me a whole lot about why you got it wrong. If you said, I didn't understand, okay, well, that might be true, but what specifically did you not understand? Or if you just said, I made a careless mistake. Well, if that's really the case, what was the careless mistake? So I want to, as much detail as you can give me. Those 3 examples, I would probably put them somewhere in this category, probably a little bit more closer to the occasionally, an incomplete explanation. Or I might say it's explanations are there, but they're very limited. So you'd probably fall in somewhere between the occasionally and the frequently when I look at this. But more important than the grade, really understanding why you got something wrong and being able to explain it. That shows like a deep level of understanding that should really help you on the summative. That's the whole reason that we're doing this. So what would I write? I would probably write something like this. When scaling a number line, I need to make sure that all of my intervals are equally spaced and somewhat accurate in relation to one another. So there I'm really getting at the concept that I didn't understand and explaining what I should have done. Okay? I could have also gone in there and explained in greater detail the actual error that I made, and that would be fine too. But just giving it a little bit more thought. Okay? The other question that comes up a lot is, do I need to correct my do the exemplary level problems. The exemplary level problems have a little asterisk next to them. Usually they're towards the end of the test, and that happened on this one in the last 2 questions. It's up to you whether you do corrections for the exemplary level problems. But what we do is we're going through and grading this. If you are like, if you just say, you know what, I'm going to go for a meeting, that's what I want to focus on, that's cool. So we would be saying that would be a meeting level reflection as well. For those of you that are really pushing yourself and wanting to get up into that exemplary range for your test corrections should show that as well. And if that's a goal of yours, really what you should be doing is correcting all of your work, including those exemplary level questions. And if you didn't know how to do them the first time, that you really like look at that, get help from a teacher. Usually we don't post the solutions to the exemplary level questions because we want you to struggle with those a little bit more. The whole thing that makes them exemplary is that they're a question that we haven't really done before. And so we want to give you that experience of having to try to figure it out. Of course, you can work with each other and you can, ask your teacher, but typically we won't be posting solutions for that. In class, I'm not going to be posting the answers up online until after that first day, but then I will be doing so that you can use that answer key to check your work. But just be really careful about going through and copying the answer key when you do your corrections. I mean, you can do that. It's going to get your corrections done really quickly, but it's not going to help you learn the material. So use the answer key, but use it, to check your work after you've already attempted it on your own. Just don't look at it and copy it and think that you're going to learn anything by doing that. All right, so best of luck. Ask lots of questions in class of your teacher and also your classmates. And of course, we're always here during math help sessions as well.